on this card stock. The first one is, how will the Sheriff's Department improve response to domestic violence and sexual assault issues?
Or cases, I guess, incidents.
I assume the focus of the question is investigatory and not response time. We'll go with that.
Okay,
Okay.
don't make me think.
It's a training issue. You know, again, I mentioned earlier this community effort. We need to get these community resources aligned. There's a lot of training out there for domestic violence situations. The Harrington House does a phenomenal job providing those. I know personally, I've asked the folks there to come to several of our briefing trainings at the police department. And, you know, it's a 10, it's a 15, it's a 20-minute long conversation with certified staff. And our personnel walks away a lot more educated and prepared to investigate those sort of situations. So it's a two-part issue. Number one, we need ongoing continuing training, and we need the newest and best training we can get. The second part is the partnership with the community. Thank you.
Domestic violence, sexual assault, those are issues that we all deal with, and Delaware County has its, unfortunately, a high ranking at that. You know, one of the things that the state of California has done well is mandate training for domestic violence. We do a lot of it, and it's mandated for all of our officers to go through that training. You know, not only is that training mandated, but what I've done is put together a felony investigation unit. Within that unit, we have specially trained individuals and officers. And our focus is to make sure that those cases, which are most critical, which are sexual assault, the rape, child molest, domestic violence, those are the cases that deserve the attention so that we can hopefully get solid prosecution, because it's not a matter of just responding and taking a report. You have to have good, solid reporting and prosecution. To that end, we have put not only the technology out there with photographs, cameras, recorders, so that we can document those initial incidences, especially around domestic violence, when sometimes the initial report and then the follow-up towards prosecution sometimes gets very difficult. Having those resources out there, having the specialized training, and more importantly, having those individuals within our felony investigation unit that have the expertise to provide, to be able to do an excellent job, is what we've done at the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, and that's why crime is down. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. You're first up on this one. How does the Sheriff's Department plan on increasing access for your public safety to the CLETS system for temporary restraining orders and increasing emergency protective orders issued in domestic violence and sexual assault incidences?
Okay. This comes down to basically an issue that was within the state of California. However, we just had within recent, last month, we recently had the allowances of the first tribal police to have access to our CLETS system. So there is an open door. There is a process by which such things can occur. This is the first time that it's ever happened in the state of California. So it really falls, you know, to the tribe, to the tribal government, to the tribal police to go out and go through that same door that has just been opened, so that CLETS access is allowed and then permitted within, so that you have access within your YTV. You know, that access would not have been possible just 2-3 months ago. Such a thing is now possible.
I think I have it. It comes down to information sharing. It's absolutely crucial, especially in a county like ours, where it's a very rural community and there's just a couple different law enforcement agencies. I know this has been a struggle locally, not just for YTP, for Crescent City and the Sheriff's Office and CHP. We have to focus on that information sharing. I think the big issue is going to be to generate some sort of MOU, and to make that happen, I've explored several information sharing sort of host programs like Cody, and there's been a few other ones out there. We just have to accomplish it. It's sort of a new idea, but it's been an ongoing problem for other agencies that are local, and I think there's successful models in play. But it's absolutely crucial. We just have to make it happen.
Thank you. Eric, you're first up on this one. What is your understanding of tribal sovereignty?
My understanding of tribal sovereignty is that the tribe is a sovereign nation. I don't understand the depth of the question, please forgive me, but there's respect to cultural boundaries and traditions. There's respect to priorities and specific ways of life on a tribe. That's what's been granted. That's something that has to be respected within our community. That's something that the community has to work with. I apologize if that's not quite answering this specific question. I don't know that I understand it.
Tribal sovereignty is a hope and a desire, that we have the independence of that your tribal government can provide the services and be the government much like any other state, independent. For a sovereign to be truly a sovereign, you have to have several things for it to be in place. One, you have your government. Secondly, you have to have your set of laws, which you do have. You have to have a way to enforce those laws, which you have with the YTV. Then you have to have the way to not only seek out the punishment for the violations of those laws, but you also have the way of incarceration, some way to punish those individuals, put those individuals away. In order for there to be a true sovereignty, like any other state, any other nation, California is a sovereign, Oregon is a sovereign, France, you are a sovereign. We must look for and need, to help and to work with our tribal governments so that they can obtain their goal, which is to truly be a sovereign. Thank you.
I'm just going to ask everybody, let's give the candidates their due respect. They showed up here in Klamath, and let's give them an opportunity to say what they need to say. This next question is for you first, Dean. Do you have a plan regarding police officer abuse? I think is the gist of the question. And how would you protect the public from, quote, a rogue cop? I'm going to leave it at that.
There are mandatory reporting processes that we have within Delaware County Sheriff's Office, within our policy. Our policy is one of the best in the nation in that we make sure that our policy is through a service that we have and we provide that makes sure that it's updated, that it's modern, that it's proper, that it's current, so that our policy meets all the standards within the state and is protected. So one, anytime that you have an issue with an officer, those are investigated, whether you are talking about potential criminal or you're talking about just a violation of internal policy. Those are investigated and action is usually taken in one way or the other, determination. One of the issues that we just went forward with and I initiated within our Delaware County Sheriff's Office, in order to help with these issues of actions being questioned about our officers, is to put cameras on all of our officers. They now have personal cameras on their person so that they may activate them when they're initiating contact with individuals. Car stops, personal contacts, investigations, going to homes. Those kinds of cameras and recording devices have served us incredibly well over the last few years when they've been implemented and used in order to prevent some of these frivolous lawsuits that come out accusing our officers of impropriety. We should never be afraid of having our officers recorded because their actions, if they violate policy, if they break the law, we'll make sure that they're punished for their actions and what they do. But we should never be afraid of putting cameras on our officers and recording what they do. because that's a way of not only ensuring that their actions are good, but it's also a good way of protecting our community. Thank you.
I believe in the question, we are to assume that the officer is determined to be rogue. So I'm going to respond as if that investigation has already happened and that officer is determined to be a rogue officer. And it's simple. It can't be tolerated. It's bad for all of us. And that officer has to be disciplined, terminated, or maybe even prosecuted, depending on the depth of the offense. That's really all I have. Thank you.
We're going to do one more question, then I'm going to ask you to spend about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to kind of make a final statement for the audience. The next question, Eric, you're first. The question is, Delaware County residents have played a role in the promotion of the state of Jefferson. If this effort is to be successful, how do you plan on funding the sheriff's office?
That's a tough one. I don't know how you would fund a sheriff's office if tomorrow there was another state that sheriff's office was located in. I tend to have steered away from the topic of the state of Jefferson intentionally. Whether I support the idea or not is really besides the point. I focus more on crime prevention. If I woke up tomorrow and I hadn't moved and for some reason I was in a new state, my job would be the same. Reduce crime in the county that I live in and be the sheriff in that county. I don't have an answer. I don't know how you would fund a sheriff's office if suddenly the state was different. But I know my job wouldn't change. And my job would be to reduce crime. Thank you.
That's an easy answer. Same way they do it in all the other 50 states.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the candidates to spend about a minute and a half, if you like, kind of a final statement for the audience. And I can't remember who I had go first last time.
Yes.
Did I have Dean go first?
No, you had Aaron go first.
Okay, so Dean, why don't you spend about a minute and a half kind of summarizing your thoughts and any last statements to the audience.
It has been an honor to be the sheriff for the last 12 years in Delaware County. It's been a privilege working with our tribal brothers and sisters. You know, having been the first sheriff to do cross-deputization and working with the different chiefs that you've had, you know, Mary McQuillan, Thor McCovey, Dave Harris, a couple of Galliatos, and then some. You know, it's been a challenge to get those things in place that we needed to put into place. And, you know, it has been a disappointment for me to see it wasted away. We need to work together. We need to come together. I've always been willing, more than willing. And I will continue to do so because I have a commitment to providing the best possible government services that we can provide. And we do that better when we work together and we pool our resources and we come together. You know, I know that the relationship between county and tribal governments is strained right now. Not just through our office, but all across the board. And how do you get past that? Build trust and communication. As sheriff, I will continue to do that. You can trust me when I say what I'll do, because I've done it in the past. I will continue to work with our tribes. I will continue to provide the quality of service going forward. Thank you.
Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and I also appreciate the folks that showed up here. So thank you for that. There's a lot of misinformation about my campaign and my qualifications to be sheriff of Delaware County. The bottom line is, nobody has experienced being sheriff until they've experienced being sheriff. And experience doesn't automatically equate to a job well done. College education doesn't define a person, nor does their choice in religion or their political affiliation. I keep being told that politics is just a dirty game and to expect such behavior. The truth is, I expect better. I will not let politics interfere with providing public safety to all people that live in, work in, or visit Delmarva County. It's time that everyone feels like they have a voice here, and it's time that everybody realizes they deserve to feel safe here. Our tourists need to feel like Delmarva County is welcoming and safe enough to bring their family and friends back. Our business owners need to feel like their investments are secure. Our children should feel safe in their schools, and our elderly should feel safe in their homes. Finally, I'd like to reiterate that I am 36 years old, and that's a big topic for some reason. It's nowhere near retirement age. I must succeed at being your sheriff. I cannot allow myself to fail, or I will be unemployed. Staying at the police department would have been a much easier route for me to take, but when I look back at my life, I want to know that I've done absolutely everything within my ability to make my home, your home, our children's home, a safer place to be. Being your sheriff is my opportunity to do that. I would sincerely appreciate your support by way of your vote on November 4th. As a community, I know we can make it safer. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Dean Wilson and Eric Apperson, and please give them all a one more hand. We're going to take a 10-minute break.